Good morning. Namaste. This is Dr. Uma Keduvetal, Department of Food Biotechnology, Faculty of Agricultural and Veterinary Sciences, Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. I had joined you in the previous session for the Agricultural Microbiology Lab. And we were going through the introduction to microbiology lab and its instruments. So we had, in the earlier session, we had dealt with the instruments that are used for the media preparation. Now you have your media prepared and you want to go into culturing a microorganism. So what do you require for that? First, you require a microbial source that you can store in a deep freezer. Like there are glycerol stocks available, lyophilized powders available. There are different modes of storing microorganisms that we will go into later in the session. So now that you can take them out of a deep freezer. So what is a deep freezer? Deep freezer is basically a fridge. At like you have 4 degrees Celsius, that will be your refrigerator. Minus 20 degrees Celsius, that will be your deep freezer. And there is another another 2 types of deep freezing available for bacteriological cultures. That is a minus 40 degrees Celsius deep freezer and a minus 80 degrees Celsius deep freezer. Anyways, they will all be looking basically something very similar to a freezer that you use. Like there are freezers as such available to store foods. You will be able to see them in supermarkets and all. So this will also be something similar in structure. Like it will look like a fridge essentially, but the temperature setting will be that of minus 20 degrees Celsius, or the compressor will be of much higher power, and then it will be a minus 80 degrees Celsius freezer, deep freezer. So you have taken out your pure culture from the freezer. You have taken out a glycerol stock. Now what do? You need to maintain a pure culture. For that, you need a very sterile environment in order to work with it. So in that, you will be using something known as a laminar airflow chamber. So the laminar airflow chamber will look something like this. So this is your laminar airflow chamber. So this will have a glass lid, and once you're opening it, you can, there will be a HEPA filter that will be high efficiency. Yeah. So this is working on the principle of a HEPA filter. That will be a high efficiency particulate air filter. So there are different biosafety levels for each of these cabinets. So what I've shown you here is a biosafety level 1 cabinet. So it will biosafety level 2 cabinet. So it is essentially a component in which you will have sterile air coming through because of the HEPA. But you can work with normal microorganisms which are not extremely pathogenic, and you will be working over here. So what you need to work in there is like when you're bringing your media components from outside, like you have autoclaved your medium and kept it, but now you will be keeping it outside. So there could be bacteria that have settled around the neck of the conical flask or something. You are using various glass instruments, like you will be using inoculation loops, you will be using L rods and all in order to do the different plating techniques that will be we will be dealing with later in the lab sessions. So for that, when you're bringing these, not all of them are autoclave. So what do? You actually heat sterilize them. And in order to do that, what you do is you use a Bunsen burner. So I'll show you another image of the Bunsen burner. So it's basically a gas lamp or something like that. Like you have a nozzle over here. You can turn it on and off. And once the gas is coming out, this will be connected to a gas cylinder. And once the gas is coming out, you will simply light it using a lighter or a matchstick. And then you have a flame, and you will be showing the neck of the medium, the conical flask containing the medium or the liquid medium or the agar medium, and then it will be sterilized, and then you can pour from it without any fear of contamination from the bacteria that might have settled at the neck of your conical flask. So that is essentially, you could also like dip your L rods in alcohol and then heat sterilize them on the Bunsen burner, or heat sterilize your inoculation loop again after first dipping it in alcohol. That way, you could work with in a sterile environment. Now you have a sterile environment, you have your solution, you have your medium, you have poured it into a plate, and then you have used your inoculation loop in order to make a streak on the plate with your pure culture, or you have done a pour plate, or you have added it into your liquid medium. Where do you grow it? Because bacteria are not going to grow under normal conditions. Like you need either body temperature, or you need like specifically 30 degrees Celsius if you are working with a lactococcus bacteria or something like that. You either need 30 degrees Celsius or 37 degrees Celsius, and that temperature has to be maintained. Some also require some amount of shaking. If you are giving a liquid culture, if you are keeping it in a stagnant condition, that will not happen. So for that, what you will be using is an incubator. So what I'm showing you here is a incubator. So it will have a temperature setting, a shaking setting, and a light setting. So if you are having an algal culture, then you could also provide light, because algae require 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark period. So then you can provide light, you can provide shaking, you can provide the ambient temperature. So since you will be dealing with cotton flasks, the flasks themselves, the cotton itself will provide filtered air into the conical flask. So aeration as such will be provided due to the agitation that is happening over there. So now you have grown your culture. Now what? So once you have incubated it for a proper amount of time, then you have to take it out. So let's see what will happen with a normal a solid plate. Like you have a petri dish on which you have done a spread plate, and you want to count the number of colonies that are present. Then you will be using something like this. So you have your petri plate that you will be keeping it over here, and this is a magnifier. And then there is something for a counting over here that you will be actually manually counting on this. And because there will be like the 4 quadrants, if you can see over here. So it is divided into 4 quadrants, so that that will give an ease of counting. And once that is there, you can simply tap on the control panel in order to enter the number of colonies that you're finding in each of the quadrants. And finally, you will get the number of colonies in each quadrant. So this is a colony counter. But now if we have a liquid medium, then what you will be doing is you will be using an instrument called a spectrophotometer, because there is something called the optical density. So your bacteria, they are particles. And if you're passing light through the liquid containing the bacterial culture, it will scatter. The more the number of particles, it will scatter the light. And this scattering is measured by the absorbance, or the amount of light that was scattered by the particulate matter or the bacterial cells in the suspension. So this is normally done at a wavelength of 660 nanometers using an instrument known as the spectrophotometer. So this will be a spectrophotometer, and in this you will be taking about 1 ml of your cells, and there will be another for blank, that will be your plain medium. Or else under for some circumstances when there's a color change in the medium that happens when the bacteria are growing, what we will be doing is you will be centrifuging the cells using a centrifuge, and then they will be suspended in the buffer, and then the blank will be the buffer and you will be taking the reading. So if you wanted to do some staining in order to see whether the culture is a gram positive or a gram negative, or you want to see for some other traits of the bacteria, then what you will be using is a microscope in order to visualize the bacterial culture. So that is a compound microscope that will be normally used in the lab. The next session will actually cover microscopy in detail. So at that time, I will be talking to you about all the different parts and principles of light microscope. So for this, like a basic microscope will look like this. You'll be keeping your sample over here, and then you will be looking at it. This will be your eyepiece and this will be your objective, and you will be looking at it and then seeing the difference in colors or staining. Staining procedure will also be covered in this lab at a later part. So once that is all done, you will have, so now you have cultured your bacterium, you have used a sterile conditioner in a laminar airflow hood, you have taken your pure culture from the deep freezer, you have incubated it in your incubator, and then you have quantified it using a colony counter or a spectrophotometer. You have looked at it and seen its various properties using microscope, its structure and all those gram staining and other staining like acid fast staining or other properties you have looked at through a microscope. Now what? So this is essentially, and I had told you, like if you want to take the optical density and determine the cell count, then you will be using a centrifuge. So what does a centrifuge do? It basically uses a centrifugal force, and then the heavier matter will get thrown to the wall and to the bottom and to the wall. And then it is basically something like a vortex mixer. But what happens is there will be a higher amount of centrifugal force that will make the bacterial cells to get settled to one corner in the form of a pellet. So that is what you will be using for doing with a centrifuge. Now you have done all this. So there are other methods for dealing with or quantifying your bacterial cultures. Then for that, one is called as the dry weight. So what you will be doing is you will be taking these Eppendorf tubes and you will be collecting your sample in there, and you will be centrifuging them and collecting the pellets, and you will be letting it dry. So what you will essentially do is initially you will dry your test tubes completely or Eppendorf tubes completely, mark them, and then take their dry weight. And once you have the dry weight, then you will collect your sample in there and let centrifuge it, remove all the excess water, and let it dry completely in a instrument known as the hot air oven. There is a desiccating columns in hot air ovens over which you can keep your samples for drying. If you are dealing with some agricultural producers, then also you will need to dry them first before you can use it for various purposes. So for this also, you will be using something known as the hot air oven in order to dry your stuff. There are also like hot air ovens used for sterilization purposes that will use very high temperatures like 160 degrees. For this drying purposes, you will be using somewhere around 70 degrees. And that would also be used in order to dry your glassware of the excess moisture once you have like washed it and kept. The hot air ovens are used also to dry your glasswares and other stuff before keeping it in the shelves or wherever you are storing it. So another instrument, these are all like the miscellaneous instruments that are also to be used. So it's a vortex mixer. Like what is done in a vortex mixer is you will be pressing it and then it will shake your test tube in such a way that it will provide a centrifugal force in such a way that it's causing turbulence to the medium. In the other centrifugal force, what in the centrifuge, what is happening is it will give centrifugal force in such a way that things are settling down. And over here, this vortex mixer will make a vortex in your liquid. So it will basically give a turbulence to your liquid inside the container that you've pressed to the vortex mixer, and thereby mixing. If there is a pellet in the centrifuge, in the tube that you have kept, and you have added 1 ml of buffer, you need to resuspend it. A vortex mixer is something that can actually do that much faster as compared to you doing it manually or shaking it in your hand. So a vortex mixer is also one of the important instruments that are used in a microbiology lab. So with this session, I've covered almost all the major instruments that needs to be used in a microbiology lab. There will also be the glasswares like and the other instruments like the inoculation loop, the L rod, the Petri plates, the conical flasks, and all that. We will be going through them as and when we will be dealing with the experiment. So with the session, you should be able to know the principles and operations of or the need for the use of various instruments that are routinely used in a microbiology lab, and be able to identify them as well. So hope you have all understood this. That'll be the end of the session. Thank you. Have a good day.